morning, good afternoon, good evening. I posted this video, and the response I got from Risk Taker is the kind of response which really must be slammed down without a moment's hesitation. As far as he is concerned, or she is concerned, I don't know whether it's the he or she, all those people who are in the diaspora have let the country down. They are the reason why the country, Zimbabwe, is a failed state. This is the kind of nonsense that has got us into this mess. And if we take the argument and accept that those in the diaspora are the scum of the earth, okay then. So Zimbabwe has finally got rid of all the scum of the earth. And who is left? The cream of the cream. The question then is, so why is Zimbabwe continuing to sink deeper and deeper into the morass? If you, risk taker, I assume you are in Zimbabwe, and those who are still in Zimbabwe, there are millions of them, are the cream of the cream. Why have you failed to stop Zanu PF destroying the country? We should accept that the country is in a mess. And defining the problem and defining the solution is not a monopoly of one particular group. If you are going to say that only those who are still in Zimbabwe are competent to define what the problem is, what the solution is, then why have you not done so? Zimbabwe is 45 years since its independence. I don't know at what point you would say it got rid of the scum. Surely the difference should start showing now, and it's not. And likewise, I don't think anyone in the diaspora should even pretend that they know the solution. They don't. No one has monopoly of knowledge. That is the point. We should comment on whatever somebody says in terms of defining the problem and articulating the solution on the basis of what they say, without any reference of where they are, because it is irrelevant. And before I finish, I would like to emphasize that I really salute those people in the diaspora who have continued to show an active interest in understanding Zimbabwe's problem and in trying to define the solution. Many of those in the diaspora have contributed, some of them in terms of remittance. I think the suffering in Zimbabwe would have been a lot worse without that contribution. And therefore then to be abusing those people is, to say the very least, disrespectful. Others have gone one step further. Instead of just sending the remittance, they've really taken an active interest on why Zimbabwe is a failed state. I do not believe that most of them have got any intentions or any plans to go back to Zimbabwe. I think they genuinely want to see the country doing well. They may go back to visit. What's wrong with that? Just as much those in Zimbabwe will visit them in the diaspora. There's nothing wrong with that. But those who are taking an active role in trying to define Zimbabwe's political and economic problems should be treated with respect and respect they deserve. The first person, as far as I know, who made this idiotic remark of Zimbabweans in the diaspora looking after elderly people was Robert Mugabe. The irony is, he is the one whose tyrannical rule had destroyed the country, forcing many Zimbabweans, millions of Zimbabweans, to leave their country as political and or economic refugees. And for somebody like that to be talking so abusively about his victims is unforgivable. And it looks like that abusive language is now in the common vocabulary of some village idiots who think they are the cream of the cream. They know what is best for Zimbabwe. And yet, we all know that Zimbabwe has been sinking deeper and deeper into the economic hell on earth that Zanu PF dragged us into. I do not believe that being outside the country or inside the country has any bearing whatsoever to whether one's contribution to finding the solution to the country's problems is more valid or less valid. And that point must be made. And village idiots like Risk Taker should be silenced because they're not helping in the debate, in the search for a solution to Zimbabwe's critical political and economic problems. We cannot be discussing whether somebody has the right to comment on what is happening in Zimbabwe at this stage. That right should be taken for granted. If you're going to address any of the issues raised, then address the issues. And this business of thinking that you are a superior human being because you are in Zimbabwe or you're outside Zimbabwe is nonsense and should be slammed down with decisive force that it deserves, with the contempt it rightly deserves. We are not going to have a debate on whether or not anybody else who doesn't support Zanu PF has a right to be heard. They have every right to be heard. And by the same token, we are not going to have the nonsense from some of the opposition supporters who think that anytime you criticize the likes of Chamisa, you must be a Zanu PF operative. This is just nonsense. Address the issues raised. This idea that you can shoot the messenger if you cannot shoot down what they say is totally unacceptable. We need to grow up and put an end to this nonsense. Thank you very much. Have a good evening.